Bonjour, bonsoir, dear friends. Welcome to JCB Live. I'm delighted today to introduce you to a beautiful woman. She's irresistible. She's young. She's dynamic. She created her own company in China. Dear friends, this is phenomenal. She has an incredible podcast. She lives between two worlds, gorgeous Santa Barbara and China. She's a consultant as well for China Eastern Airlines. And she's doing so many great things at such a young age. And she shows us that women have a huge place in the world of wine, not only in the US, but outside of the US, in one of the most challenging and different culture than the Western culture, it's China. So I'm delighted to bring to you as the top 50 global future beverage industry leader, Emilie. Woo!
Thank you so much for having me. I already poured my glass and I'm already enjoying it. So, cheers to a great Friday.
Well, it's a fabulous Friday. Spending it with you, Emilie. I'm the most fortunate man on earth, as well as all of us. So why Santa Barbara today? Is it where you're from originally?
So no, I'm actually originally from Toronto in Canada, and I'm here because I spent over a decade in China working with some of the top brands and top import companies developing wine programs and a lot more educational programs. And I decided, to talk about wine is very different than to go and make it, get your hands dirty. And so that's what I wanted to do. And I had the opportunity to come out. So I'm right here at Au Bon Climat out in Santa Barbara, testing my hand out at harvest and realizing that winemaking is a difficult art, but once accomplished, it's a beautiful art.
So well said. So I want to see your hands if they're really dirty.
Well, you're lucky
they're beautiful hands.
they're not so bad, because I definitely tried to scrub them today for you guys, but there were some days where I thought I would never get over this for life. So I thought it could be a permanent tattoo, but we're lucky. So far it's coming off a little bit nicely, but it's been a rough last few months.
Well, I'm sure you have other permanent tattoos and I won't go there yet. So I'm delighted to cheer with you with Bubbles from Burgundy. As you're an expert of wine, top 50 most influential young lady in the world of wine, what do you think of those bubbles?
I think for anybody who loves sparkling wine, for myself, Crémant de Bourgogne offers some of the best value in the world for sparkling wine. You get that long lees aging, which is similar to champagne because it is a traditional method wine. Yours has, I believe, 12 months on lees, so definitely has that extra over aging than the requirement. And so for me, just the rosé is just such a great wine. I'm here in the sunshine and it is perfect either with food or without food. It's fresh, it dances on the palate. And, you would think pairings, automatically when I taste this, I feel like I should have Chinese food with it, xiaolongbao, or maybe dim sum if I'm in Hong Kong or in South China. And I think that's what people should look at sparkling wine with, that angle is not just, it's a party. It definitely is a wine for every day, a wine with food, a wine that can be enjoyed without a special occasion. And if you open the bottle, it becomes the special occasion, right?
What a special occasion together. So well said. So what made you in love with China?
Yeah, I think my story probably isn't like most people. I know I was watching your video with Julien Boulard, who's an exceptional master of wine in China. I know you had Feng Walker. So, you've dabbled into China. And I think my story is probably different, where it never stemmed so much so from learning the language. It was more an opportunity that my father saw when I was very young and said, you should go do wine in China. And I thought I was, maybe 14 at the time. And I thought, that sounds cool. My other friends want to be doctors, but I'm going to drink wine. And at 14, never drinking wine, I thought, how cool is that, right? And you grew up in that way too, where, wine was part of your family. And I wasn't that lucky, but I definitely feel like once I figured out what I wanted to do, I knew that I would really work hard towards curbing my passion and being able to deliver that every day through enjoyment of what I do.
But did you study Chinese at school, or the Chinese language, the Chinese culture, Chinese history? This is a love of the country or just the love of an opportunity?
That's a great question. I think it's a mix of both. I will say that at the beginning, I did have a tutor when I was in Canada learning Chinese, and I did go to China the first time to study Chinese. But what drew me is a bit like yourself when you talk about USA. the endless opportunities, the excitement, the energy. And you mention that all the time. And that's very much how I feel towards China. There is a beautiful cultural element. It's a very dynamic market. And I think for anybody who wants to push themselves and reinvent themselves in a new way, China has been very exciting in the last decade. And to be part of this excitement has been truly a great gift. And so drew me to China, and what made me stay are the people and culture. But what drew me to China was the excitement towards this new energy, newfound, it's like the west of the world, a different world.
Well, talking about a different world, carving your path as a fabulous, charming young lady from Canada originally, at large, and then in China, how has it been?
I think just like anything, what I have started, I did work a bit in Canada as well with wineries. So I did have experience there prior to going to China. But I would say it was a long journey, and it was a frustrating journey. And I think anybody that starts off their career and has big expectation and wants to succeed, just like yourself at the beginning, you're always fumbling at the beginning. So for anybody listening, it was not easy. But after 5-6 years, I finally was able to cultivate the fruits of all my labor. And so I think it's more step by step rather than going there and thinking that you're going to stand out. And I see that a lot with many brands that enter China. They think, well, we're unique. We should be able to be number one in China. And actually, once you learn the dynamics of China, it's such a fragmented and unique wine culture and also just way of doing business that it does take a lot of time to understand the business and to be able to really connect with individuals larger than just saying hello or showing your face. It's really being able to deliver that energy consistently.
Oh, and you do that so well.
And
I'm amazed.
well, I am enjoying your wine, so that makes it easier, doesn't it?
Emilie, what I'm amazed as well as I have loved going to China, it has been a little while, but we look forward to coming back, is the amount of great ladies in the wine world, not only in the restaurant world as sommelier, in wholesale, and as masters of wine and all of that. How do you explain that women have really taken advantage of the wine world in such a great way?
Well, that's an amazing question. And I think there's a fear that in Asia, that women are pushed down. And that's actually not the case that I've experienced. Now, everybody does craft their own path and has different experiences. But, a wonderful lady on your team, actually, Jean-Charles, is Dan Dan Huang. And she's one of my inspirations. And I worked with her, actually. So she's unbelievable. And I can name countless women in the wine industry in China that I look up to. And I think the reason is that it's a very open environment for women working. And for most cities like Shanghai, the woman is actually in charge. So, it leaves that space as well for women to be creative and to fulfill their goals. But of course, it always depends on the person. I think it's a very welcoming environment. And I think because people are there, for the large majority, they're very business orientated. They're not so much held back by some stereotypes. If you are good at business and you are somebody who's trustworthy, I think that there's opportunities for everybody. So I would say it's quite a welcoming place. And it is very different, to clarify, than other regions in Asia. And it's often thought that it would be the same as Japan, and that is not the case.
And within this, how does it feel for you to have been named Global Future 50 in the world? I mean, this is a major deal. I want to congratulate you for that.
Thank you.
And how do you feel, and how are you going to use that opportunity as such?
Well, that's a great question. I think that, I hope to be like you, Jean-Charles, to be able to share my passion every day with people who love wine, right? That's, I think, the goal of what we do. And how, I think it's, again, promoting people. I think the best way to promote women in wine, or anybody in wine, or young individuals in wine, is actually to help the people that are surrounding you. That is the most important thing. We can't change the world, but we definitely can help promote the people who are with us, hire the people who have potential, grow that potential, create career plans, create and entice people to want to achieve more, and then help them go up around us. And that's what I hope to do when I did get that award, was to continue to promote wine in China, women in business, and to continue to grow awareness of China business and winemaking in China. So, it's a never-ending job. There's a lot more. That's just a little bit of a great award, but definitely
you're so articulate
small.
and you're so disciplined with it that you will create an amazing path for you and
Oh,
others.
thank you.
You're a great inspiration. Now, talking about inspiration, what inspires us with the white that we're having now is, in fact, a big Chinese philosophy, the lunar calendar, because this is biodynamically made and certified, and obviously organically grown as well. So I'd love to hear from you, as you're in a Chardonnay vineyard close by to you in Santa Barbara. How do you feel about this wine?
Oh, just the nose. I could probably sit here all day just kind of drooling over the nose. It has this buttery malolactic character. It has this beautiful kiss of oak. It has this lovely peach and almost a ripe peach character to it, a little bit of that honey melon. It's beautiful. I mean, it's just shining. Once again, maybe because I'm outside, maybe because I'm speaking with you, the wine always tastes better. But it's just beautiful on the nose. And one of the things also, and I like what you mentioned about biodynamics, is yes, China, as you just mentioned, always used to harvest and cultivate and do agriculture based on the moon and on the stars. So you're very much true when you say that. And funny enough, actually, maybe you would feel that way too. I mean, you've traveled to China quite a lot, Jean-Charles. Did you feel, the concept of terroir, when you explain it in Canada, or you explain it in different countries, people seem that they're questioning it. Whereas in China, the concept of terroir, because they grow tea, because there is such a food and wine, a food culture, the idea of terroir is not new to them. In fact, I would say there's a lot of similarities to the idea of terroir with the French and with the Chinese as well. So absolutely. I'm sure they're going to love that.
Thank you. And where do you see, in fact, the potential of winemaking in China? As you're making a harvest now in Santa Barbara for a few months, is it something you want to do in China in addition to all your responsibilities?
Well, I definitely have written quite extensively on the dynamic winemaking in China for various publications. And I think I'm definitely interested because, it's as if I was coming to California 30, 40 years ago, right? And just, seeing the evolution. And not many countries are moving so quickly. Now, I will say there was a very big negative connotation to Chinese wines when I first came to China a decade ago. And I think you could attest to that too, in a way where not every wine was great. But over the last 10 years, it would be surprising how quickly they've moved. And I think that's, largely part because there is backing from the government, right? And that is something that they're trying to push these wine regions because they are in developed economical regions. And so they want and have a beneficial need to be able to grow that region. And, in general, I think it's just people with passion who go to France, who go to Napa Valley, who try your wines and say, I want to make this, but I want it to be with my terroir, with my name, with my history. And so it's a very dynamic region. And there's new regions popping up, and there's exciting regions, and there's old regions that, were there because they were old, just like, some other regions in the US started first, and then we found the right places to make wine later down the road. But it takes time. Winemaking, just to make this, is not done overnight. And you know that very well. So it takes time and patience.
That's right. So what are the main differences and similarities that you see between the West and the East? Because, which is so great is you're so vibrant and represent the next generation. We have a few decades of differences in terms of age. So you really represent as well a new generation in that. So maybe what brings us together and what is still maybe fundamentally different between the two cultures?
Right. Well, I mean, there's quite a lot that we could dive into that. And I think one of the main things at the end of the day, we are all alike in that we love what we love, and it depends on the style. And the other thing as well is that wine brings people together, and that's universal, right? The amount that you guys do as well when you have the Red Room and you have all these different types of programs at Raymond, for example, that's to bring people together, that's to connect. And so wine connects. The big difference is the method of consumption. So in China, sparkling wine is something that's not always being consumed. I remember Perrier water is a great example. When they entered the market 20 years ago, people didn't drink bubbles, nor did they drink cold water. And so it just wasn't a product, but now it's growing. And still, people prefer red wines because it symbolizes, and we're going to have that next, but it symbolizes prosperity and luck. And it's also because a lot of wine is consumed at business dinners. And so they're not pairing wine with food necessarily. They're having a big, large table dinner. And you've seen that multiple times where food comes in and everybody kind of picks what they want. So how do you pair one wine with 10, 20 dishes, right? because
Right.
back in our culture, you have a menu and you pair the wine to the menu. But I would say in China, we pair the wine to the people, right? So key customers, you want a brand, you want to have the packaging. If it's a gift, you want to have the entire POS, right? You want to have the box that comes with it because you're giving it as a gift. So the consumption and purchasing habits are quite different. And then it comes back to the visibility of the product, right? Is it cork? Is it screw cap? And you know very well when you were in China, cork is king. Cabernet Sauvignon is king. So luckily for you, you're in Napa. But we're seeing these trends evolve, but this is for the large majority, right? We can't, we're kind of simplifying a very dynamic and saturated or different market.
And cheers, by the way, you mentioned
Yes.
you have to go there.
Yes.
As we tasting Cabernet, and you mentioned Cabernet is king in China, the emperor of China, do you see the consumption growing over time in China and people enjoying more wine alone, without food and with food? What's your view of that?
You know, because business is so important in China and the drinking culture, there's been a shift in different types of consumers. And I've seen new segmented consumers come out of it. And one of the things, Jean-Charles, is wine used to be a business drink that was replaced by baijiu. And as we know, baijiu is actually the most produced spirit in the world.
Yes.
You would think it's vodka, but it's not. It's called baijiu. So it's basically a rice-based spirit. And it is high alcohol. And you've tasted it, right? What were your thoughts on that?
Of course.
Woo.
Well, it's very unique and it's very true to China. And
Yes.
it has that phenomenal taste. And I'm very intrigued by it, frankly.
Exactly. But it definitely is higher alcohol. And because you would have to go around tables and toast and bottom up, which is gembe, bottom up, which means you finish your glass, baijiu can be a little bit of a risky choice. So people have been embracing red wine because they've heard it's healthy. And, there's a big trend on health in China. And also embracing red wine because it's slightly lower alcohol. And it has this impression of luxury, which is, as the economy continues to develop, people are in search of products that are not only emulating the West, but also bring them up in their social status. But the new consumer is what I think, Jean-Charles, is the most exciting part of China. When I started, I remember bringing a bottle of natural wine over from Hong Kong. And that was, I want to say 8 years ago. And I got laughed at from top sommeliers at the time, okay? And they said, oh, this is corked, it has VA, it has Brett. Those same sommeliers now have about 3 natural wine restaurants. So within 8 years, the consumer went from, I only drink Bordeaux, I only have French wines, and I only have heavy bottles, to now a more exploratory in the kind of up and coming cities. Not everybody, but you see these great restaurants popping up, dynamic young individuals who have a passion for wine, whether it be California, whether it be sparkling, but they are becoming, and when they do that, they become some of the best, in terms of studying and being able to really understand that style and the producers who make it happen. So it is definitely dynamic. I see the shift in the consumers, and I see people that are enjoying wine without it being a business or a social event that is starting and embracing it in their lifestyle. But that's still going to take time because, that's only a little bit of the needle, and China is a very large area. So we're here talking about the young generation, typically in big cities like Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou. But it doesn't apply always to the smaller cities as you go in, and it's a very different economic landscape.
But it's so encouraging, and I love your about it because I'm bullish as well. And I'm a big fan of Chinese food. And when you look at the diversity, the kaleidoscope of flavors and taste,
indeed,
just imagine that they can decipher so well different flavors and taste of wine, identically as the food, right?
Oh, indeed. And I think, what's always funny is I was teaching WSET for a very long time in China. And we would talk about Sauvignon Blanc, and we would say it has gooseberry aroma. And people go, I don't even know what that is because it's not there. But they come up with new terms that were fruits in a specific region or spices that you would get that I never had, So I think it's such a different vocabulary now for wine that I think can only enrich us here in the West as well, where we discover more about the food and culture in Asia.
So tell us now about your famous podcast, the most listened to in China. And I'm so impressed because you called it Bottled in China. And this is the most listened to. And how did you start? And how is it doing? And give us a little bit of a presentation as far as how can we listen to it and so forth.
Well, certainly. Thank you so much for that. Well, first off, I'd love to have you as a guest. So this is an open invitation for you as well, where I'd love to talk about your journey. in
More
China as
time
well.
together, I would dream about it. Friday, 6 p.m. is not enough.
Well, then I will let you know. But I think it stemmed in 2016, and it was created through, in an interesting way, a frustration towards when I was traveling out of China to Europe, to Canada. People were always mentioning that every wine in China is fake. Nobody knows wine. People add Coca-Cola to wine. And there were so many misconceptions, and also about food. And you know this firsthand as well, Jean-Charles. When you go to China, the people you meet, they're passionate. The chefs you meet, they have knowledge. And I wanted to share what's really happening on the ground in China with everybody around the world. And so Bottle in China was created in 2016. Now, recently, during the pandemic, I switched it up a little bit to include more of a holistic, global, I would say, global approach to it, because my interest also is not only China, but a global approach to wine, food, beverage, etc. And so it evolved from there. And right now we're currently on Air Canada. So if you ever fly international or domestic, it's on Air Canada talking about Chinese wines, Canadian wines, and more collaborations coming. And it's something that's a passion, something that I just love to share the stories of people like yourselves who are changing the way we look at wine and food, and who are doing something unique. And it's just inspirational. Every time I finish a podcast, I learn, and I feel that I hope that the listeners also get to experience something that is different than just reading a blog. So it's been a while.
Oh, congratulations. So now what inspires you, Emilie, in life?
Oh, well, I didn't know this question was coming up. I should have thought about that a little bit more, I think what inspires me is probably constant improvement. I think that's what made me stay in wine, and perhaps for yourself as well. The fact that you keep learning. You blind taste a wine and a region, you think this is Chablis, and it turns out to be something else, right? Maybe it's a Hunter Valley Semillon, but my meaning is you're always constantly being tested in wine, right? In terms of the new regulations, the new varietals, the climate that's changing, the way we adapt, the producer like yourself who has an imprint on the style of wine, the vision, the stories. So I think just that constant improvement has been able to keep me interested and pique my interest. And also just the people you meet, I think that's the most important part of the industry. It's a lot of fun, we're gonna say that. It is a nice day and I'm having wine, so it can't be that hard, right?
Well, as you're tasting the Chardonnay and the Cabernet, tell us what you think about the oldest Victorian home and family in the heart of Oakville. That the two families who founded the Oakville Grocery back in 1881, and the Durant and the Booth. So in their honor, we created this amazing wine, which has been a great success, at least in the US and Canada, your homeland. So
Perfect.
This is Durant and Booth. What's your view of that?
I mean, I just tasted it, and this for me is a great wine for China. And I don't like to, again, generalize things, and I think that's incorrect. But I do, when I look at the profile, first, Cabernet Sauvignon, right, which is the king of grapes in China, beautiful red wine. The tannins are beautifully done, and they're integrated, they're soft. The palate is this round, lush flavor, which makes it just enjoyable at every sip. Everything is kind of in line and beautifully packaged as a wine. It has a lot of fruit as well, and I think that's signature Napa Valley. So I really love this wine, and I think this is such a parable wine. You think of Hong Shao Rou, which is this thick meat, right? You've had that before. I feel you've had that quite often, actually.
I love it.
It has this, dark, rich, sweet as sauce almost, or even you can go with pepper beef, and so it has this versatility with Chinese wines as well. And I mean, I could drink this today in the sunshine, but I do think a little bit of Chinese food wouldn't hurt. Or eel, you know what? That eel, and an eel is not always a wine you think of with red wine, but in China, they have a beautiful, thick, sweet, rich, very umami sauce, and umami is great with this type of wine. So certainly probably a crowd pleaser.
Well, I'm going to do soon a winemaker dinner at Empress.
Oh,
Fabulous Chinese restaurant in the heart of Napa Valley. One of the best, I think. And I'm going to add this wine to it because the way you describe it, I look forward to that.
Well, let me know. I mean, I feel like that would be the best wine to enjoy with these richer dishes and again, it's so hard to generalize Chinese food because there's 100 things. And unfortunately for a lot of the listeners, it's not Panda Express. And I was disappointed when I went to China because I expected the food to be very different. And yet it's I've never gone to a region in China where the food was the same. It is so complex. And so this really is a wine because it has this beautiful balance to it and it's not harsh. It definitely can be played with in different ways with food.
Well, I'm so glad you described it so well. You make us want to go Chinese food for dinner.
Oh, well, hey, you should. Why not, right? Why not enjoy it? It's Friday.
Yeah, maybe you should come and do this winemaker dinner with me.
Well, anything that you guys need, as long as there's wine, I'm there.
Now, what's your dream, Emilie? Because not even 30 yet, and I should not say that, but you're such a great example for everybody to succeed, from Canada to US to China, to back and forth, to create the biggest podcast, to consult with airlines and many other things you're doing. It's a great example for others. So what's your dream now?
Wow, that is a very difficult question. Again, this is I probably should finish a bottle before I talk to you about this, huh? No, I'm just joking. I think once again it comes back to the people and never stopping to learn. So I'm in the middle of the MW process, and I definitely want to continue that and attain that. But not as a testament to just knowledge. It's just a testament to the journey that I will be taking. I don't see that as the end of the journey. I see it as part of the step of where I want to go. And I think it's to continue to bring awareness to Asian markets and wine markets, to continue to teach people about wine, that it's not something to be afraid of, that it's something to embrace. And I really hope that I inspire other people and young individuals or women in wine or any individual in wine to explore, because explore is what wine is all about. It's not about being afraid to try new wines. It's about embracing every wine that comes to you and looking at it for what it is, for the work that's been put in, and to enjoy it just like you would with, I guess, chocolate or anything that's delicious.
We like them all. I love
Can't go wrong with that.
The word you use, exploration. I think it's important. So that's a good time to ask you your big message to the world.
Oh, well, my big message to the world would certainly to be open to going to China, open to learning about a new culture, and also open to other people's cultures when you are traveling to China or if you are selling wine to China. I think that's a big misconception, is people have their own idea of how to drink wine or how you should pair wine. And China is a very different world. And maybe it's to be open-minded and learn from others and to embrace this new journey in wine. And if it's traveling or if it's wine, to just embrace every moment and to become your best self within it.
We love your energy, Emilie. Thank you so much. What an
Thank you very
amazing
much.
time we've had.
Well, it's been fantastic.
For taking time away from your harvest and certainly your great time in Santa Barbara. We wish you incredible, continued, insane success. We cannot wait to see you in Napa Valley or Burgundy. I know you speak perfect French. I can hear how you pronounce my first name. You say it so well. It's such a comfort to hear such good pronunciation.
Well, next time I'll make sure to use an English accent or Chinese accent to it. So don't worry. I'll switch it up.
Chinese. So we commend you. We wish you
Thank
continued
you.
phenomenal time. And we
Thank
cannot
you.
wait to see you in China next.
Thank you very much for having me. And once again, it's been a pleasure to also enjoy your wines in a perfect sunny day, and hopefully in China again or in Asia again, because I love when I see your wines in Asia. It makes me happy. So,
Gambe.
santé. Gambe. Oh, I like that even more. Gambe.